This is not investment advice. It is just the most important rule of investing, and I want to share it with you this morning, and that is never, ever bet against Elon Musk. And, it turns out it's probably not very wise to get into some kind of a grudge match with President Trump either. Neither one of those things turn out working very well. So after the very biggest PR event of all time, which far eclipsed the Biden advertisement for GM, Ford, and Stellantis, Elon is going to start picking up a lot of our votes, if you will, a lot of Republicans now. I don't know who would have suggested such an idea. Maybe, I don't know, 18 months ago, that as Elon Musk was losing Democratic appeal, that the Republicans who had been totally against buying anything electric would come around to Elon's point of view and see the benefits of dealing with electric cars, but it would take some time. And now we're seeing it. Now, I didn't predict or expect or know that we would get such an incredible PR event on the front lawn of the White House. But, every little bit helps. Generally speaking, however, we've been seeing this trend developing. It's been developing. But the other big news overnight or this morning, is that Tesla is also up today, big time, over the inflation news. In part, this news was not unexpected. We thought inflation would be down. I certainly thought it would be. I thought, flat to slightly down. That's what I've been saying. But it is really, really much better than expected. And of course, this whole stock market is going crazy. But for some weird reason, the bonds aren't. And I can't figure out what is going on. So, by the way, just let me reiterate something I said a couple of times yesterday. This Republican thing is not a small, it's not a nothing burger. It is the largest unexploited TAM in the world that Tesla can go after is Republicans and also independents, quite frankly. Most of the vehicles were being bought by liberals, and most Republicans and independents were not interested in green cars or in electric cars. They wanted to keep their putt-putt machines. Anyway, but so this is like there isn't a country in the world where there are more potential buyers than the Republicans and independents in the United States that have not yet bought. This is huge. And the stock is up very strongly this morning. We're sitting around 250 right now, but it should be over 300. I mean, seriously, just because of the potential purchases coming in from the right wing. Matt Smith says, listen, he was talking about this huge surge in Google searches, big surge in Google searches, biggest surge they've ever seen. And he goes by the way, Matchless Matt on X. There seems to be real interest from people who might not have ever considered buying a Tesla before. Here are a few more examples, and he shows some examples of Google trends spiking for terms such as that a first-time Tesla buyer would use. But you would expect those trends to be more pronounced in the conservative states, and that's what's happening according to connecting the dots. And he goes by connecting O dots, the letter O. It was a lot of interest spiking in European searches also. Now that would be maybe that's the second largest unexploited TAM in the world, would be the right-leaning folks in Europe. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see whether the left wises up. I mean, what the left is, doing everything they can to vilify Trump, to vilify Musk, to vilify Tesla, to literally tag the cars and kick them and beat them. It's just the silliest thing I've ever seen. But I don't know if they're going to wise up and see that it turns out that their efforts are counterproductive, because you don't mess with Musk and you don't mess with Trump. It just doesn't end up well. Well, your extremely clever co-host on this channel, Nicholas Gibbs, and I called it. We both said that the markets would be up if the CPI came in light, and voila, it is up. But I'm not 100% sure I can explain why the bonds are not playing along this morning. Yields are higher. That doesn't make any sense at all, and neither Nicholas Gibbs or I would have predicted that. So AJ has this morning from Sandy Monroe did a video with Wes Morrell, a senior staff engineer at Tesla, back in January, and for some reason, it is getting new light. Multiple people are talking about that video again now. Not 100% sure why. Somebody did a clip of it, and now everybody's paying attention. Here's a recap according to AJ. Tesla moved all new Model Ys to only rear castings. Number two, no new Model Ys will have a front casting, even though, number three, Tesla's casting technology increased two times in speed and uses less material. Interesting, huh? This implies that Tesla has now enormous excess casting capacity from making fewer Model Y front-end castings and increasing casting speed. So in other words, you've got the front-end casting, which totally makes sense. Not sure exactly what they're doing instead of the casting. Nobody talks about that. But they've doubled the ability, more than doubled the speed. It went from like a minute and 20 down, I forget. Anyway, I can't remember the exact numbers, but they more than doubled the speed. And they also eliminated the need to make all the front-end castings. Why would they need all this capacity? And he's speculating perhaps Tesla traded some front-end casting benefits to free up casting capacity for the lower cost vehicle, which according to Elon is about to enter production. Well, he says, why? From ordering a new large casting machine, it takes a long time to get a new casting machine, get it in the factory, then a few quarters. So he says, they may have just decided, hey, we can do it this way and get the result that we need. Hence, he says, at first glance, it looks like a moving away from castings in the front might just be a clever way to provide the needing casting capacity for the new vehicle, and which will ultimately drive higher casting machine utilization and therefore lower cost. This from Sawyer Merritt this morning. He says, some people are mad at Trump for showing off Teslas at the White House yesterday. So many postings this morning, people saying, oh, this is, criminal, why does Elon Musk get this opportunity? He gave Trump $100 million for the Trump PAC, and that's why Trump is doing this ad on the front lawn. But in 2021, Biden held an EV summit where he invited GM, Ford, and Stellantis, but not Tesla. He showed off an all-electric Hummer and a Jeep Wrangler hybrid. Yeah. Teslas are the Sawyer Merritt goes on to say Teslas are the number one most American-made cars. Unlike GM, Ford, and Stellantis, every Tesla sold in America is built in America by American workers. Tesla's Fremont factory in California is the single most productive auto plant in North America. When you buy a Tesla, you are buying the best product, the safest vehicles, and supporting American jobs, as well as a company that's doing more than any other car company, for the environment and sustainability. Yeah, so I think this was it was the grudge match that was created by the left again by coming against Elon Musk, doing free work, costing him money, literally, to be up there in DC trying to solve this massive problem that the country is in with regard to the deficits. And what does he get in return? He gets people destroying his Tesla facilities, yours and my facilities, taking down the value of the stock. 60% of the people in the United States own stocks and probably have Tesla in their portfolios, even if they don't know it, because their pension funds are probably buying indices that carry Tesla. So anyway, that is what's happening with Tesla this morning. This is Randy Kirk, and hit like and subscribe and notify. Join Patreon. That would be a fantastic. This is the kind of thing that the president of the United States would tell you to do. I should be on the front lawn, and he should be going, because Randy Kirk is out there helping Mega and helping Tesla. by talking, about all the good things that Tesla and MAGA are doing. You should definitely support him through Patreon. Yeah, that's my commercial for this morning. Okay. It is as good as it gets on the CPI today. Egg prices are falling. Now, guess what? In this CPI, they aren't shown as falling yet. So there's more future potential when egg prices go down because they are going down. So next month, maybe the CPI will drop again just because of eggs. Okay, that's a joke. We're one step away from the end to the Ukraine war, and we got inflation down, egg prices down, energy prices down. But, oh, the mainstream medium is still harping on Trump and hating on Musk. Now, Greenland has voted for independence, and two Canadian provinces are talking about leaving Canada and joining the US. But the critics can't let up for a minute. All right, what happened with the consumer price index? Consumer price index for all urban consumers increased only 0.2% versus the expected 0.3, which was a lot better than last month's 0.5. U.S. headline year over year rose 2.8 versus the 2.9 expected. So the annual as well as the month on month both did way better than expected. The index for shelter rose 0.3% in February, which accounted for nearly half of the monthly all times increase anyway. And shelter is way down. We're no longer looking at 0.5, 0.6. We're down to 0.3. The shelter increase was partially offset by a 4% decrease in the index for airline fares. Airline fares being impacted by what? Come on now. Airline fares are down because they're not going to get any airline trips from government employees for a while. Yeah, they've already announced that. It's hitting them big time. Delta, in particular, has announced that. I'm assuming it goes across all the airlines. A 1% decline in the index for gasoline. I mentioned that. Despite the decrease in the gasoline index, the energy index rose 0.2% because of what? Oh, yeah, natural gas. So the natural gas prices, we've been talking about that every single day, twice a day, morning and night. Natural gas has been going up and has been holding up pretty well. And I think that's because this big time salesman called President Trump has been trying to sell natural gas to Europe and to everybody else around the world because we make a lot of it and we can export it. The index for food also increased in February, but that wasn't about the food you buy at home. That was about food away from home. And so the food at home was about what you'd hope it to be, about 0.2%. But the away from home still at 0.4%. Now, that's not because of food prices, by the way, it's because of labor. And so we'll see if that flattens out a little bit over the course of this year. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.2% versus the expected 0.3% and following 0.4% in January. Indices that increased over the last month include medical care, cars and trucks, used cars and trucks. New cars and trucks were actually down a little bit. Used cars and trucks were up. Household furnishings and operations, recreational apparel, and personal care were the items that were up. The indices for airline fares and vehicles were among the few major indices that decreased. New vehicles. The all items index rose 2.8% for the 12 months ending February after rising 3% last month over the last 12 months ending January, and lower than the expected 2.9. So 2.8 versus 2.9. The all items index less food and energy index rose 3.1% over the last 12 months versus the expected 3.2. Now then, we have the index for all items less food and energy. What? Nope. Sorry, that's all repeat. Now, I'm gonna make a statement here that I've been planning to make for a couple of days. It is normal in a new administration for everybody to consider that the old administration's impact lasts for the first 6 months of a new administration. You're sitting there and you're saying, oh, inflation up. You'd be saying, that's Biden's fault, that's Biden's fault. You're saying stock market up or down, Biden's, it's because of Biden either way, whichever way it goes. You're looking at oil prices, egg prices, whatever. and you say, okay, that's because of. Usually the first 6 months get plugged into the old president's information. Unfortunately, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I've been saying now for a couple of weeks, and I'm going to continue to say this. This has changed this time. From the day of the election when Trump became the known successor, became the new president-elect, he has been making headlines almost daily about what he's going to do, and these things have been impacting markets starting then. Everybody talked about the Trump bump. Everybody talked about on Tesla getting the Trump bump. Everybody talked. And then he started talking about the things he was going to do with tariffs, the things he was going to do about drill, baby, drill, etc. So these kinds of statements that he's been making all along, and then coming in and hitting as hard as he has during these first 2 months with massive, massive, massive changes to everything, I'm saying pretty much from day one, whatever happens to this economy, whatever happens to inflation, et cetera, it's pretty much on Trump. So if you see inflation coming down, it's on Trump. If you see the stock market coming down, it's on Trump. If you see employment coming down, it's on Trump. I'm kind of saying this is an exception to the rule. And I'm sorry, some of those things are going to be negative. Like if employment, you get a lot of layoffs. Well, where are the layoffs going to come from? They're going to come from education. They're going to, well, not education. I'm sorry, from the government. Government employment is going to come down, and it's going to impact the employment, you know, indices, the economic information that we get over the next few months, and that's on Trump. I mean, face it, it is. But so are the oil prices coming down, the egg prices coming down, which I mentioned, I think, the other day. Trump actually made some statements about what he was going to do regarding eggs, and that's when eggs really started falling. So anyway, the European leaders, however, they're showing real stupidity. They're really dumb, as well as Canadian leadership, really dumb. They retaliate against what now in Europe are these reciprocal tariffs coming from the US, but they don't hold any cards. And Canada doesn't hold any cards either. This morning they said they're going to, have a 25% tariff on US goods. This is not going to end well for any of them. You've already seen how these retaliations don't work against the United States, don't work against President Trump. He'll just up the ante. He doesn't care. He wants the stuff to be made in the United States. He doesn't care if the Europeans, you know, cannot export to the US because of these tariffs. And he isn't particularly that interested in, right now, he doesn't care that much if it harms US exports. What he's trying to say is he wants fairness, he wants a reset, he wants a worldwide reset, and he's not going to be okay. These are reactions by Canadian leaders and European leaders. They're reacting, but leaders don't react. This is a little hint about leadership. Leaders don't react. They have a vision for the future. And when you have a vision for the future, then you are proactive. You are the one setting the stage. You are the one making that are setting the rules for what's going to happen in the future. If you're wrong, you're wrong. But if you're right, then if the rest of the people that are in your sphere react to these things, they're not leading. They are reacting. And this doesn't work. Now compare this to what the Mexican president, President Sheinbaum, I think that's right, is doing down there. She seems to have a vision for a better Mexico. I think that's why they elected her. And things are actually, there's evidence of improvements down in Mexico. And I think she can kind of see where Trump is going with all this, especially with regard to Mexico and with regard to the gangs that are running Mexico. And I think she's on board. And I think I think she personally has vision. And I think that she's kind of saying, hey, we're aligned on some of this stuff. Let's go. I think this is what Canada and Europe should do. But so far, they're being stupid. All right. So markets, of course, are reacting to all of this morning in a major way. And you've got Tesla right now up only $15.90 at 246.48. It has been higher. It has been above 250 this morning, but it's oscillating now that it's got to these numbers. We also have, believe it or not, the Dow Jones is now down 145. Go explain that. Let's go ahead and look at the percentages. Dow is down 0.35%. Now, this could be partially because we've been seeing this rotation into the Dow and out of the Mag 7, but now what we're seeing this morning is going the other way. So the Nasdaq is up a full point. It was up higher. It has fallen off of that little profit. I would say not a little profit taking this morning, a lot of profit taking. S&P is still up 0.34%. It was up much more than that. And again, Tesla is up 6%, and it was up probably almost double that at one point. Apple is actually down at this point. Microsoft down a little bit, and the rest of the Mag 7 are up, including NVIDIA, up 4.88%. I'm guessing that there might be a little more news that I'm not aware of at this point, because some of these downtrends would seem to indicate that there's been a news event that's impacting that I'm just not aware of. It hasn't flashed across my screen. You've got almost all the Cathie Woods, in fact, all but TDOC are up this morning. So generally speaking, what we're seeing here is a response where the tech stocks are doing well and the old line stocks are not doing as well. Now, this may have to do with the tariffs and whatnot. Maybe that's what some of this reaction is the Europeans and the Canadians both putting in these reactionary tariffs, reacting to what Trump is doing. That could be what's impacting prices right now. All right, let's go ahead and look at what's going on with the bonds, whoops, I just hit the wrong thing entirely. Okay, bonds. We've got the 10-year up 2.8 basis points, which it should be down more than that. We should be down, we should be in the threes at this point. This is Randy. I'm not saying that as investment advice, and I'm not saying that as a prediction. I'm saying that's what should be happening. But there's something going on with the bond people this morning. Again, it might be the tariffs. I'm not sure, but we are up 1.3 on the 10-year at 4.299. Okay, and the 2-year is up 2.7 at just under 4%, and the 2-month is unchanged this morning. The oil market, it is up a buck this morning. Yeah, on $1 at 67.33, which is still fine. I'd like to see it going the other way. But we have natural gas actually coming down this morning substantially, 6%. You know how natural gas is, it jumps all over the place, but it's going towards 4%. So we could, I mean, $4 rather, we could see natural gas going into the threes, and that would be the part of inflation that was, at least on the energy side, was holding things up. Brent, of course, moving about the same. Gold this morning up, but barely, $1.60 to 2,922. Silver continuing up strongly, 1.25% at 33.56, moving in on that $4. And copper is pushing towards $5, up 1.77. And again, overall, the commodities were down. They were actually a help in the indices, but you see silver and copper. Now, silver's in the commodities. Copper is definitely a major commodity. All right, so we've got the headline is the dollar is struggling to lift off as global trade war ramps up. Okay, so that must be what's going on here. Bitcoin 81,821, so down 1,348 this morning. So you can see, so Canada to impose 25% retaliatory inflation. We must act, Europe says, retaliating against Trump's. You don't retaliate. It's not leadership. Okay, so but later on today, you've got Brian Wong on at 7:45, and you've got Jeff Lutz. I've got so many interesting questions for Jeff Lutz tonight. And Brian Wong, I already know what he and I are going to talk about, and it is mind-boggling. It is mind-blowing. You don't know this, I promise you. So you have to watch both of those shows. They're coming on tonight. And then last night, I did actually both shows last night. Brian White, excellent show with Brian White. About I'm trying to remember, but it was it was really good. In fact, it was really extremely well received. Lots and lots of you watched it already. But also the show that I did with Nicholas Gibbs, he was on fire last night. Super interesting show. I'm going to put both of those cards up for you. And then if you would mind hitting the like button if you forgot, Yeah, I know you forgot. You were lazy. I do it all the time. I'm lazy too. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit notify, and then join Patreon. Support the MAGA Randy. Support the Uber Bull Randy. That's who I am. I'm a MAGA guy and I'm an Uber Bull. I'm not denying any of that. It's been great talking to you.